The stars looked cold and far away through the window of the starship. Relentless hope. Captain John Morrison stood alone on the bridge, his hands behind his back, watching Earth grow smaller and smaller until it was just a tiny blue dot. He had seen this view many times before, but tonight it felt different. Tonight, he was not going on a simple mission. Tonight, he was going to speak for all of humanity. The message had come 3 days ago. It arrived in the middle of the night, sent directly to United Earth Command with the highest priority code. The Galactic Council wanted to see a human representative. They did not ask politely. They demanded it. In 300 years of contact with alien races, the Council had never summoned humanity like this. John was 52 years old. He had gray at his temples and lines around his eyes from years of staring at star charts and battle screens. He had joined the Earth fleet when he was just 20 years old, following in his father's footsteps. His father had died in a war far from Earth, defending an alien world that most humans had never heard of. John still wore his father's service pin on his chest, a small piece of metal that meant more to him than any metal. The door behind him opened with a soft sound. Lieutenant Commander Katie Webb walked onto the bridge, holding a datapad in her hands. She was John's first officer and had served with him for 8 years. She was a small woman with short brown hair and sharp eyes that missed nothing. "Captain," she said, "I have the Council's transmission coordinates. They want us to meet them at their headquarters near the Crimson Star." John nodded slowly. The dying star. They like to remind visitors that nothing lasts forever. Katie stood beside him at the window. "Do you think they're really going to sanction us?" "I think they're going to try." The problem was simple to explain, but hard to solve. Humanity had settled a new world called Kepler 442. It was a beautiful planet with blue oceans and green forests, and 10,000 colonists had already built homes there. But the Galactic Council said this planet was in a forbidden zone. They said humans had broken the rules by settling there. John knew the truth was more complicated. The planet had been empty for 200 years. No other species wanted it. No other species had claimed it. But the Council had drawn lines on their star maps long ago, and they did not like it when anyone crossed those lines without permission. A young man at the communications station turned around. This was Ensign Danny Holt, the youngest member of the bridge crew. He was only 25, with red hair and a face full of freckles. He reminded John of himself at that age, full of hope and energy. "Sir," Danny said, "Admiral Patricia Lane is calling on the secure channel." "Put her through." The main screen lit up with the Admiral's face. Patricia Lane was 60 years old, with gray hair cut short and eyes that had seen too many battles. She had been John's mentor when he was a young officer, and now she was one of the most powerful people in Earth's government. "John," she said, her voice serious, "I won't lie to you. This is bad. The Council is talking about cutting off our trade routes. They're talking about isolating Earth from the rest of the galaxy." John felt anger rise in his chest, but he kept his face calm. "All because we settled one empty planet? It's not about the planet. It's about power. The elder races have controlled this galaxy for thousands of years. They see humanity as a threat. We grow too fast. We spread too far. We don't follow their rules." The Admiral paused. "You're going to stand in front of beings who have lived for centuries. They're going to look at you like you're a child playing with dangerous toys. Don't let them break you, John, but don't start a war either." "I understand. I'm not sure you do." Her voice softened just a little. "Your father stood up to impossible odds. He never backed down, even when everyone told him to run. I see the same fire in you. Use it wisely." The screen went dark. Katie was watching him carefully. "What are you thinking, Captain?" John turned away from the window. I'm thinking about all the times humanity has been told we're not good enough, not smart enough, not old enough, not ready. He walked toward his command chair and sat down. I'm thinking about my daughter back on Earth. She's 12 years old. She wants to be a pilot someday. She wants to explore the stars. She sounds like her father. She's better than her father. Her whole generation is better. They grew up knowing there was a whole galaxy out there. They don't have the same fears we had. John looked at the stars on the screen. If the council shuts us out, what happens to kids like her? What happens to their dreams? Lieutenant Benjamin Cruz spoke from the tactical station. He was a tall man with dark skin and a calm voice that never seemed to change no matter what was happening. Captain, I've been studying the council races. There are 14 of them, and they all have one thing in common. They think humans are primitive. They think we got lucky with technology. They think we'll destroy ourselves sooner or later. And what do you think, Benjamin? Benjamin almost smiled. I think they're scared. I think they've never seen a species like us before. We don't give up. We don't accept limits. We look at impossible problems and find answers anyway. That terrifies them. Danny Holt nodded eagerly. My grandmother used to say that humans are like weeds. You can't kill us. We just keep growing back. Katie laughed softly. I don't think you should use that comparison with the council, Danny. No, John agreed. But he's not wrong. He stood up again, feeling something shift inside him. The fear was still there, but something stronger was growing beside it. Purpose, determination, the same feelings his father must have had before his final battle. Set course for the Crimson Star, John ordered. Maximum speed. Yes, sir, Katie replied. The relentless hope turned toward the distant stars and began to move faster. Somewhere ahead, the most powerful beings in the galaxy were waiting. They expected humanity to come crawling, to apologize, to beg for forgiveness. They were going to be very surprised. John touched his father's pin and made a silent promise. Whatever happened next, he would not let humanity down. He would not let his daughter's dreams die in some alien council chamber. He would stand tall, speak the truth, and show the galaxy what humans were really made of. The journey would take 6 days. John planned to use every hour preparing for the fight of his life. The Galactic Council's headquarters was the largest structure John Morrison had ever seen. It was a massive station built around a dying red star, and its metal towers stretched out like the branches of some great tree. Thousands of ships moved around it, carrying representatives from hundreds of worlds. John watched through his shuttle window as they approached, and he felt very small. Ambassador Lucy Grant met him at the docking bay. She was a thin woman in her 60s, with silver hair and tired eyes. She had lived on this station for 15 years, serving as humanity's only permanent voice among the elder races. John could see the weight of that job in every line on her face. Captain Morrison, she said, shaking his hand. I wish we were meeting under better circumstances. So do I, Ambassador. What can you tell me about what we're walking into? Lucy led him through corridors made of some crystal-like material that glowed with soft light. The air smelled strange, a mixture of chemicals that John's nose couldn't identify. Alien beings walked past them, some tall and thin, some short and wide, some floating, some crawling. Most of them did not even look at the two humans. The council is made up of 14 elder races, Lucy explained as they walked. They've been in charge of galactic affairs for over 10,000 years. The leader is High Arbiter Zethal. He's from a species called the crystalline. They look like giant insects made of silver metal. They live for 500 years, and they think very slowly and carefully. Is he the one pushing for sanctions? Yes. He's been speaking against humanity for decades. He thinks we're dangerous. He thinks we expand too fast and take too many risks. Lucy lowered her voice. But not everyone on the council agrees with him. There's a delegate named Councillor Marketh from the HFY species. Their people were once in our position, long ago. He might be sympathetic if you can reach him. John stored this information in his mind. Anyone else I should know about? The collective are a hive mind species. They speak with one voice, but think with millions of minds. The Mythari are ancient scholars who value knowledge above all else. The Varathi are warriors who respect strength. Lucy stopped walking and turned to face him. But John, you need to understand something. These beings don't see us the way we see ourselves. To them, humanity is a baby species. We've only been in space for 300 years. Some of them remember when our ancestors were still living in caves. I understand. Do you? Her eyes were intense. They're going to try to make you feel small. They're going to talk down to you. They're going to treat you like a child who broke his parents' rules. Don't let them get inside your head. John nodded. I'll remember. They reached a massive door that opened slowly, revealing the council chamber beyond. John stepped through and stopped, his breath caught in his throat. The chamber was a dome of living light. The walls shifted colors constantly, responding to some kind of emotion-sensing technology. Right now, they were deep blue with streaks of red, which Lucy whispered meant tension and suspicion. 14 platforms floated in a circle around a central stage, each one holding representatives of the elder races. John saw creatures he had only read about in reports. The crystalline were indeed like silver insects, with bodies made of interlocking plates and eyes that glowed with inner light. The Mythari looked like tall, thin birds wrapped in flowing robes. The Varathi were massive and muscular, covered in thick scales. The collective appeared as a group of small beings that moved in perfect unison, like fingers on the same hand dot, and then there was the human platform. It was the smallest of all, positioned lower than the others, so that John had to look up at everyone else. The message was clear. Know your place. John stepped onto the platform. Lucy stood beside him, her hands clasped tightly together. High Arbiter Zethel rose from his seat. His silver body caught the light as he moved, and his compound eyes focused on John with cold intelligence. When he spoke, the words came through John's translator implant, but the contempt needed no translation. Humanity has violated Accord 773, Zethel announced. His voice echoed through the chamber. 300 years ago, we granted your species the right to travel through galactic space. We did not grant you the right to claim worlds as your own. The planet you call Kepler 442 lies within a protected buffer zone. You will remove your colonists immediately, or you will face the consequences. John felt anger building in his chest, but he kept his voice calm. High Arbiter, may I speak? Zethel made a gesture that his translator interpreted as dismissive agreement. The planet Kepler 442 was unclaimed for 200 years, John said. No species had settled it. No species had filed any claim to it. Our colonists found an empty world and built homes there. They planted crops. They raised children. They broke no law that I am aware of. You are not aware of many things, Zethel replied. The lights on the walls flickered with hints of yellow, which John guessed meant mockery. The buffer zones exist for reasons you cannot understand. They were established before your species learned to make fire. You do not have the right to question them. With great respect, John said, I am not questioning the buffer zones. I am questioning whether an empty planet that no one wanted for 2 centuries truly falls under their protection. I am questioning whether the goal of this council is fairness or simply control. The chamber went very quiet. The light shifted to deep red. Lucy grabbed John's arm, her fingers digging into his skin. Zethel leaned forward. his silver body making soft, clicking sounds. "You dare to accuse this council of unfairness? Your species has existed for the blink of an eye. You know nothing of the challenges we have faced, the wars we have prevented, the civilizations we have saved. Humanity is a guest in this galaxy. Captain Morrison. Guests do not make demands." John looked around the chamber at the alien faces watching him. Some showed curiosity. Some showed hostility. A few showed something that might have been sympathy. He found Counselor Marketh, the Kethvari delegate, a being with a great head and sad eyes who was watching him closely. "You're right," John said quietly. "Humanity is young. We have much to learn, but we also have much to offer." He took a breath. "And with respect, High Arbiter, I did not come here to apologize for surviving. I came here to remind this council of what humanity has done for this galaxy. And if that is not enough, then no apology ever will be." The lights on the walls began to shift in patterns John could not read. Something was about to happen. He could feel it in the air, like electricity before a storm. He had thrown down his challenge. Now he had to back it up. The council chamber exploded with noise. Delegates from a dozen species were speaking at once, their voices mixing into a storm of alien languages. The walls of the chamber flashed with angry reds and confused yellows. Lucy Grant looked like she was about to faint. Even John's translator was having trouble keeping up with all the different conversations happening around him. High Arbiter Zethel raised one of his silver limbs, and slowly the noise died down. His compound eyes fixed on John with what could only be described as cold fury. "You speak of what humanity has done for this galaxy," Zethel said. "Very well, human. Enlighten us. Tell us what your infant species has contributed to civilizations that were building empires when your ancestors were learning to walk upright." John had prepared for this moment. He had spent the entire 6-day journey reading reports, studying history, and memorizing facts. He had barely slept. He had eaten his meals while reviewing data. Katie and Benjamin and Danny had all helped him practice his arguments. Now it was time to use everything he had learned. 300 years ago, John began, his voice steady and clear. The Mithari homeworld faced a disease called the Void Plague. It was a sickness that had no cure. Millions were dying. Your own scientists, High Arbiter, the greatest minds in the galaxy, said it was impossible to stop. He turned to face the Mithari delegation. They were tall bird-like beings with feathers of deep purple and gold. Their eyes were large and intelligent, and they watched him with careful attention. A team of human doctors traveled to Mythar Prime. They were not asked to come. They volunteered. They spent 2 years living among the sick and dying, studying the disease, trying solutions that everyone else had given up on. And they found a cure. Not because they were smarter than your scientists, but because they refused to accept that it was impossible. The Mithori delegate, an ancient being named Scholar Vithana, slowly inclined her head in acknowledgement. John saw the lights on the walls shift slightly toward blue. 200 years ago, John continued, the collective's core world was in the path of a massive asteroid. Your computers calculated that deflection was impossible. The angle was wrong, the mass was too great, and there was not enough time. You prepared to evacuate billions of your people. He looked at the collective delegation, those small beings that moved as one. A human mathematician named Helen Cruz proposed a different approach. She found a solution using methods your computers were not designed to try. She saved your world, and she never asked for anything in return. She died 10 years later, an old woman on Earth, and most of her own species never knew her name. The collective spoke in their strange, unified voice. We remember Helen Cruz. Her name is written in our core memory. We do not forget. John felt his confidence growing. 50 years ago, the HFY homeworld was invaded by the Screamer swarms. These creatures came from beyond known space, and they killed everything in their path. The HFY asked the Council for help. They begged for military support, but the elder races were afraid. The swarms were too dangerous, too unpredictable. No one wanted to risk their own ships and soldiers. He turned to face Counselor Mark Eth. The HFY was a massive being with thick gray skin and 4 arms. His eyes were deep and dark, and John could see old pain in them. "The United Earth Fleet came," John said softly. "We sent everything we had. 47 ships and 12,000 soldiers. We fought beside the HFY for 3 years. We pushed the swarms back. We saved their world." John's voice grew heavy. "My father was one of those soldiers. His name was Commander Richard Morrison. He died in the final battle, defending a planet that had never done anything for humanity. He died because he believed it was the right thing to do." Counselor Marketh rose slowly from his seat. His deep voice rumbled through the chamber. "I was there. I saw the human ships come when no others would. I watched your soldiers fight and die for my people. Commander Richard Morrison saved my own life. I carry his memory with honor." The chamber was completely silent now. The lights had shifted to a mix of blues and soft greens. John could feel something changing in the room, a shift in the emotional current that flowed between these ancient beings. John pulled a small crystal from his pocket. He had brought it from Earth, loaded with images and videos and records. He threw it toward the central platform, and it activated, projecting pictures into the air above them all. "This is humanity's record," John said. "Not of conquest, not of war. This is a record of service." The images showed human doctors treating alien diseases, human engineers building bridges on distant worlds, human teachers sharing knowledge with species who asked for help, human soldiers standing guard over civilians who were not their own, human scientists working beside alien researchers to solve problems that threatened everyone. "You call us children," John said. "You say we don't understand our place. But here's what I understand. Every time this galaxy has faced a problem too strange or too difficult or too frightening for the elder races to handle alone, you have turned to us. Because humans do not know when to stop trying. We do not accept the word impossible. We look at the darkness between the stars, and we build lights to push it back." He spread his arms wide, taking in the whole chamber. "And now you want to punish us for settling one empty planet that nobody else wanted? You want to cut us off from the galaxy we have served and protected? You want to tell the children of Earth that their future ends here, in this chamber, because we dared to dream too big?" John lowered his arms and looked directly at High Arbiter Zethal. "I came here thinking I would have to beg for mercy. I came here thinking I would have to apologize for being human. But standing here, looking at all of you, I realize that I have nothing to apologize for. Humanity has earned its place among the stars. We have paid for it in blood and sacrifice and generations of hard work. And if this council cannot see that, then perhaps it is not humanity that needs to learn a lesson today." The chamber remained silent. The lights shifted through colors John could not name. He had said everything he could say. Now he could only wait and see if it was enough. Counselor Marketh was the first to speak. "I stand with humanity." Then, slowly, Scholar Vithana of the Myth Ari rose. "We also stand with humanity." The collective spoke in their unified voice. "Humanity has earned our respect. We stand with them." One by one, other delegates began to rise. Not all of them, but many. More than John had dared to hope. The lights on the walls were shifting to warm gold, and for the first time since he entered this chamber, John allowed himself to feel something like hope, but High Arbiter Zethal had not moved. His silver body was completely still, and his compound eyes burned with an emotion John could not read. Whatever happened next, John knew, would depend on what the High Arbiter decided to do. High Arbiter Zethel stood motionless for what felt like hours, but was probably only seconds. The chamber waited in tense silence. John could hear his own heartbeat in his ears. Beside him, Lucy Grant was holding her breath, her hands pressed together so tightly that her knuckles had turned white. Then something strange happened. The floor in the center of the chamber began to glow. A soft white light spread across the surface, and slowly, impossibly, a new platform rose from below. It was not like the other platforms. It seemed to be made of pure light, shimmering and shifting like sunlight on water dot. Lucy made a sound that was somewhere between a gasp and a cry. Her hand grabbed John's arm, and her fingers dug into his skin hard enough to hurt. "The Keeper," she whispered. Her voice was shaking. "John, that's the Keeper." John did not know what that meant, but he could see the effect on the rest of the chamber. Every delegate had gone completely still. Even High Arbiter Zethel had stepped back, his silver body clicking with what John's translator interpreted as shock and something very close to fear. A figure stood on the platform of light. It was humanoid in shape, but clearly not human. Its body seemed to be made of the same glowing substance as the platform, constantly shifting and flowing. It had no face that John could see, just a smooth surface where a face should be. Yet somehow John felt like it was looking directly at him. "The Keeper is the oldest of all the elder races," Lucy explained in a rushed whisper. "They say the Keepers were here before the galaxy had formed. They haven't spoken to the Council in 4,000 years. No one knows why they choose to stay silent." The Keeper began to speak, but his voice did not come through John's translator implant. Instead, the words simply appeared in his mind, clear and perfect, as if they had always been there. "We have watched humanity since your earliest days. We saw you look up at the stars and wonder what they were. We saw you build fires against the darkness. We saw you dream of flying, even before you had words for the sky." The light around the Keeper shifted, and suddenly the chamber was filled with images. John saw Earth as it had been millions of years ago, covered in ice and fire. He saw early humans huddled in caves, drawing pictures on walls. He saw the first cities rise and fall. He saw wars and plagues and disasters that killed millions. "We saw you nearly destroy yourselves," the Keeper continued. "Your species came very close to extinction many times. The age of nuclear weapons brought you to the edge of total annihilation. We watched and waited to see what you would do." The images shifted. Now John saw the rebuilding after the Great Wars. He saw humans working together to heal their damaged world. He saw the first space flights, the first colonies on the Moon and Mars, the first ships that traveled beyond the solar system. You rose from every fall. You learned from every mistake. You did not give up, even when giving up would have been easier. We saw this quality in you, this stubborn refusal to accept defeat, and we knew that you were something new in the galaxy. High Arbiter Zethel finally found his voice. "Keeper, we do not understand. You have not spoken in 4,000 years. Why now? Why for the humans?" The Keeper turned toward Zethel, and even without a face, John could sense something like patience in its stance. "High Arbiter, do you know why the buffer zones were created?" Zethel's silver body clicked nervously. "To protect important space from being claimed. To maintain order and peace. No." The Keeper's voice was gentle but firm. "The buffer zones were created to protect the elder races from their own fear. Fear of change. Fear of species that did not fit the old patterns. Fear of humanity." A murmur ran through the chamber. The lights on the walls were shifting rapidly through colors John had never seen before. "The elder races are old," the Keeper continued. "Very old. With age comes wisdom, but also comes caution. The 14 species of this council have maintained peace for 10,000 years by following rules and procedures and careful planning. This is good. This is necessary. But it is not enough. The light being moved closer to John's platform. Even though it had no eyes, John felt the weight of its attention like a physical force. Humanity breaks rules. Humanity takes risks. Humanity looks at impossible problems and finds solutions that no one else would try. This terrifies the elder races. They see your species growing and spreading and changing, and they do not know how to control it. So they try to contain you. They try to slow you down. They tell you to wait, to be patient, to know your place. The keeper paused. But we keepers have seen many species rise and fall over the ages. We have seen empires that lasted 1,000,000 years crumble to dust. And we have learned one thing. The galaxy does not need more caution. It needs hope. It needs courage. It needs species who are willing to try new things, to make mistakes, to learn and grow and change. The keeper raised one shimmering hand, and something materialized in its palm. It was a small sphere, about the size of an apple, made of the same crystalline material as the council chamber itself. It glowed with an inner light that pulsed like a heartbeat. "This is a founding voice," the keeper said. "It has not been given in 10,000 years. The last species to receive one was the crystalline High Arbiter Zeth Al's own people. This object grants its holder a permanent seat on the Council of Elder Races. It grants the right to speak and vote as an equal. It grants all the rights and responsibilities of the oldest civilizations in the galaxy." The sphere floated through the air toward John. He watched it come, unable to move, unable to think clearly. This was more than he had ever imagined. This was more than anyone on Earth had ever dreamed of. "Take it," the keeper said. "Humanity has earned this. Not through conquest or power, but through service and sacrifice. Through refusing to give up. Through being exactly what you are." John reached out his hand. The sphere settled into his palm, and he felt a warmth spread through his entire body. It was like holding a piece of a star. "I cannot accept this alone," John said. His voice was steady, but inside he was trembling. "I speak for humanity, but I do not rule it. This decision belongs to all of us." The keeper's light seemed to brighten. "We know. That is exactly why you are worthy of it. A species that gives power to one person is a species that will fail. A species that shares power, that works together, that values every voice, that is a species that will last." High Arbiter Zethel stepped forward. His compound eyes were fixed on the glowing sphere in John's hand. "Keeper, I have served this council for 300 years. I have worked to maintain peace and order. Are you telling me that everything I believed about humanity was wrong?" The keeper turned to face him. "We are telling you that fear is a poor foundation for judgment, High Arbiter. Humanity is not a threat to this galaxy. Humanity is a gift. And it is time for the elder races to stop being afraid and start being grateful." The chamber was completely silent. John looked at the sphere in his hand, at the ancient beings watching him from their platforms, at Lucy Grant crying quiet tears beside him. He thought about his crew waiting on the Relentless. Hope. He thought about his daughter on Earth. He thought about every human who had ever looked at the stars and wondered if they belonged there. Now they had their answer. 6 months had passed since John Morrison stood in the council chamber and received the founding voice. 6 months since humanity officially joined the elder races. 6 months since everything changed. John stood on the observation deck of New Hope City, the capital of the Kepler 442 colony. Through the wide windows, he could see construction drones building the new Galactic Embassy District. Towers of glass and metal rose toward the sky, designed by human architects working alongside alien engineers. The sight still amazed him every time he looked at it. The colonists had not been forced to leave. The sanctions had never happened. Instead, Kepler 442 had become something new, a symbol of what humans and aliens could build together. Thousands of visitors came every month from across the galaxy, curious to see the planet that had sparked such a historic change. Lieutenant Commander Katie Webb walked up beside him, a datapad in her hand. She looked different now, more confident, more at peace. The worry lines that had marked her face during the journey to the council had faded. "The Mythari ambassador is requesting a meeting," she said. "They want to discuss a joint medical research program. Something about combining human creativity with their ancient knowledge." John smiled. "Schedule it for next week, after the Kethvari ceremony." The ceremony was happening in 3 days. Counselor Mark Eth was coming to Kepler 442 personally to honor the memory of Commander Richard Morrison. They were building a memorial in the city center, a place where humans and Kethvari could remember together the soldiers who had died defending both their peoples. Katie nodded, then hesitated. "Captain, can I ask you something?" "Of course. Do you really think we're ready for this? Being an elder race?" She looked out at the construction. 6 months ago, we were begging for permission to keep one colony. Now we're supposed to be equals with species that have been running the galaxy for 10,000 years. John thought about the question carefully. He thought about the founding voice, which now sat in a special chamber at United Earth headquarters. He thought about the messages of support that had come from billions of humans across dozens of worlds. He thought about his daughter, who had sent him a video message saying how proud she was. "I think we've always been ready," he said finally. "We just needed someone to recognize it." He turned to face Katie. "But being an elder race isn't about power. It's not about having a special seat at the table. It's about responsibility. We helped those species because it was the right thing to do, not because we wanted something in return. That has to stay the same. And if it doesn't, what if power changes us? Then we'll have failed. Not the galaxy. Not the Council. U.S. John put his hand on her shoulder. "That's why people like you matter, Katie. You ask the hard questions. You don't let me get too comfortable. Promise me you'll keep doing that." Katie smiled slightly. "I promise, Captain." A chime sounded from John's personal communicator. He looked at the screen and saw Admiral Patricia Lane's face. She looked older than she had 6 months ago, but there was a light in her eyes that had not been there before. "Morrison," she said, "I have news. The United Nations just finished the final vote. As of today, humanity has officially ratified the Founding Voice Treaty. We are now, legally and formally, members of the Council of Elder Races." John felt a wave of emotion wash over him. He had known this was coming, but hearing it made real felt different. "Thank you, Admiral." "Don't thank me. Thank yourself. Thank your crew. Thank every human who ever refused to give up." She paused, and her voice softened. "Your father would have been proud, John. So proud." "I know," John said quietly. "I think about him every day." The transmission ended. John stood in silence for a moment, looking out at the city being built below. Somewhere out there, beyond the sky, the Relentless Hope was on patrol. Danny Holt and Benjamin Cruz were aboard, along with a crew that now included members from 3 different species. The ship had become a symbol of the new era, a place where humans and aliens worked side by side. John's communicator chimed again. This time, it was a message from his daughter. Her face appeared on the small screen, bright and excited. "Dad. Dad, did you hear? They announced it at school. We're really doing it. We're really one of the elder races." She was practically bouncing with joy. My teacher said that someday I might get to serve on a mixed-species crew. Can you imagine? Me, flying with aliens. John felt his heart swell. I can imagine it perfectly, he said. You're going to be amazing. I have to go, Dad. Class is starting. But I love you. I'm so proud of you. The screen went dark. John held the communicator for a moment, feeling its weight in his hand. Such a small thing, but it connected him to everything that mattered. Katie was watching him. She sounds happy. She sounds like the future, John said. That's what all of this was really about. Not power, not politics, just giving kids like her a chance to dream bigger than we ever could. He looked out the window one last time. The sun was setting over New Hope City, painting the sky in shades of orange and gold. In a few hours, the stars would come out. Those same stars that humans had wondered about since the very beginning. Somewhere out in that vast darkness, other young species were looking up at their own skies, wondering if they would ever belong among the giants. Humanity had been there once, small and scared and desperate to prove themselves. Now they had a chance to be what the Keeper had been for them, a light in the darkness, a voice that said, "You are not alone." John straightened his uniform and headed for the door. There was work to do. There were meetings to attend and decisions to make, and a whole galaxy waiting to see what humanity would do next. But as he walked, he felt something he had not felt in a long time. Peace. Not the peace of having no problems, but the peace of knowing that whatever problems came, he and his people would face them together. They would make mistakes. They would stumble. They would argue and fight and sometimes fail, but they would never give up. They would never stop trying. They would never forget what had brought them this far. That stubborn human refusal to accept the impossible. John touched his father's pin one last time and smiled. The galaxy was waiting, and humanity was ready.